Hello guys, in this video we will solve 50 multiple choice questions on core mathematics. This video will help you understand key concepts, learn useful tips, and then boost your confidence to pass your exams with excellent grade. Now, the first question is that the sum of the interior angle of a polygon is 1260 degrees. Find the number of sides. Now, we know that the sum of the interior angles of a regular polygon, let's say theta, equals n minus 2 times 180 degrees. And so that is what we have here. Now, if we expand this, we are going to have 180 times n, that is 180n, and then 180 times negative 2, and that is negative 360. And this equals theta. And from the question, theta is 1260, and that is it. Now we want to make n the subject, and so 180n equals 1620. Then we divide it by 180, and the answer is 9. And so option A is the correct answer. Now the next question is that a building is 12 meters high. A football on the ground floor is 30 meters away from the foot of the building. Find, correct to the nearest degree, the angle of depression of the ball from the top of the building. And so from the question, the building is 12 meters high. So let's say this is the building, and that is 12 meters high. And we have a football that is 30 meters away from the foot of the building. And so this is the football, and it is 30 meters away from the foot of the building. Now you have to find the angle of depression. So if you draw a straight line from this point to this point, the angle of depression is this portion, and we call it theta. And so we have two sides known. This makes an angle of 90 degrees. And we have two sides known. So we are going to make use of the trig identities. That is the SOHCAHTOA. And so we have the opposite, and then we have the adjacent. So we are going to use tangent. And so tan theta equals opposite over adjacent. Then we have 12 as the opposite, and then 30 as the adjacent. And so we're going to substitute these values into this equation. And that is why we are having tan theta equals 12 on 30. And then we're going to make theta the subject. And so theta equals tan inverse of 12 on 30. And that is going to give us a value of 21.80 degrees. And we are to find theta to the nearest degree. So we are going to round it off, and that is 22 degrees. And so option A is the right answer. The third question says that a number is chosen at random from the set 13, 14 all the way to 30. What is the probability that it is a prime number? And so we are going to call this set, let's say A, and then we are going to list all the elements. And so we start from 13 and then end it at 30. Now we count the number of numbers in the set, and that is 18. And then we find a set of prime numbers from this set. And so we have P to be 13, 17, 19, 23, and 29 as prime numbers. So the number of prime numbers in this set is 5. Now, probability equals number of possible selection over number of samples. And so we have number of prime numbers to be 5 and number of samples to be 18. So 5 on 18. And option C is the correct answer. Question 4 says that Regina is 34 years old and her daughter is 5 years. In n years' time, Regina will be twice as old as her daughter. Find the value of n. So we are told that Regina is now 34 years old and the daughter is 5 years old. And in n years' time, Regina will be twice as old as the daughter. And so in n years' time, the daughter's age is going to be the current age plus the n years. And so we are going to have 5 plus n. And then the mother's age is going to be 34 plus n. Think about this. If you're 42 years old now, then in 10 years' time, what will be your age? That is 52, right? You added 10 to 42, right? So if Regina is 34 years old now, then in n years' time, her age is going to be 34 plus n, right? So that is exactly what we've written down here. Now the question says that in that n years' time, she'll be twice as old as her daughter. So it means that when we multiply her daughter's age times 2, that will be the same as the mother's age. So we are going to see 2 times the daughter's age in n years' time. That is 5 plus n. It's going to be the mother's age in n years' time. That is 34 plus n. And so we expand and we are going to have 10 plus 2n equals 34 plus n, making n the subject. We have n to be equal to 24. And so option D is the correct answer. If P with coordinates -7 and 8 is reflected in the line x minus 2 equals 0, find the coordinates of the image of P. Now, if we consider the line x minus 2 equals 0, then x equals 2. This is the equation I'm talking about. Now, this is a typical example of reflection in the line x equals k. And in this case, k equals 2, right? And then the image is going to be what? 2k minus a for the x component and then b for the y component. So from the question, we can see that a equals -7, b equals 8, and then k equals 2, right? So we are going to find the image of -7, 8, where it is reflected in the line s equals 2. And that is going to be what? 2 times k, and k is 2, minus a, and a is -7, comma b, and b is still 8. So we maintain it. When we simplify this, we are going to have 11, comma 8. And so the right option is option D. Question 6 says that if the variable p is inversely proportional to q squared and p equals 2.25 when q equals 6, find p when q equals 3. So mathematically, p inversely proportional to q squared is written as this. And then if you want to change the proportionality sign, then we are going to bring equal to and then bring some constant, let's say k. So this is going to be what? P equals k on q squared. So this is the equation. Now, if p equals 2.25, then q is 6. So you have two known values, then we can find k. So we are going to substitute these two values into this formula and then we obtain the value of k. So you have 2.25 for p and then 6 for q. So we are going to square 6 as q is squared, right? And so that is it. So we are going to have k equals 36 times 2.25, right? And then k equals 81. Once you have the value of k, then you are going to substitute back into this formula. And then that is going to be what? P equals 81 on q squared. Remember, k is a constant and we found its value. Now we are asked to find p when q equals 3. To find P when Q equals 3, we're going to substitute 3 into this formula. So we have P equals 81 on 3 squared as Q is squared, right? And then P equals 81 on 9. And then P equals what? 9. That is, if you divide 81 by 9. So the right option is option D. We are to make x the subject of the relation y equals root of px on r minus r squared x. And so the first thing to do is that we are going to square both sides. So we are going to square this and then square this. When we square this, that becomes y squared. And when we square this, that eliminates the root. And so we are going to have px on r minus r squared x. Now we want to factorize x out. Remember, we are making s the subject. We want to factorize x out. So we have y squared equals, when we factorize x here, we are going to have p on r. Then when we factorize x out here, then we are going to have r squared. And so that is it. Now, we want to find LCM for this. So that is p on r minus r squared all over 1. And so the LCM is r. And then r divides r by 1 times p is p. Then 1 divides r by r. And then r times r squared is r cubed. Then we bring r minus. So that is the value. So this is equivalent to this, right? Okay. And so we have r being multiplied by y squared. So ry squared equals xp minus r cubed. We multiplied y squared by r, right? That is it. And so x is going to be what? Ry squared divided by this value or this expression divided by p minus r cubed. And so the right option is option A. Now question 8 says that 7 men complete a certain work schedule in 6 days. How long will it take 2 of the men to complete the same work schedule if they work at the same rate? What we are saying is that 7 men takes 6 days to complete a work. And we are asked, how many days will it take 2 men to complete the same work if they are working at the same rate? That is, they have the same energy, they are working at the same rate. Now you realize that if 7 men take 6 days to complete a work, and 2 men are going to complete the same work, then they demand much more days. So x will be more than 6, right? Then if more, let's divide. So you are going to divide 7 by 2 and then multiply it by 6. And so that is 7 on 2 times 6, which is 7 times 3. And this is 21 days. And so the right option is option C. We could also solve this problem by saying that T is inversely proportional to W, where T is the number of days and then W is the number of workers. What this means is that if we have more workers, then it demands lesser time to complete the work. And if you have more time, then it demands what? Lesser number of workers to do the work. So to change this proportionality sign, we are going to bring equal to and then add a constant k. Now we were told that 7 men takes 6 days to complete the work. And so we are going to substitute these values into this equation so that we can find the value of k. And so 6 for time, and then 7 for the number of workers from this sentence. And then we make k the subject, and that is 6 times 7, which is 42. So the constant is 42. We're going to put k into this formula. And that is t equals k, which is 42 on w. Now, how long will it take two of the men to complete the same work? So, now we are to find time, or the number of days it will take for two workers, right? So we are going to substitute 2 into this equation. We have t equals 42 on w, the number of workers, which is 2. And so t is going to be 42 on 2, and that is 21. So 21 days. If cos y is negative and sin y is negative, in which quadrant would y lie? Considering the x and y plane, this is the first quadrant, this is the second quadrant, the third, and then the fourth. In the first quadrant, all the trig identities are opposite. That is the sine, cosine, and tangent. And then we usually use this statement to record. That is, all students take Coke. And so we have the all here. That implies all of the trig identities are positive here. Now with a student, it stands for sine. In the second quadrant, only sine is positive. And in the third quadrant, tangent is positive, while sine and cosine are negative. So that is the third quadrant, because cos y is negative and sine y is also negative. Now, the volume of a cone is 264 centimeters cubed. If the base radius is 6 centimeters, find the height. Take pi to be 22 on 7. Now, volume of a cone is pi r squared each on 3. Now, we have our volume to be 264. And so we have 264 equals pi. Pi is given as 22 on 7. Then times 6, which is the what? Radius squared. And then times each, which is what we are supposed to find, all over 3. So we are going to make each the subject. So we have pi 6 squared times each, which is equal to 3 times 2, 6, 4. Then making each the subject, that is going to be h equals 3 times 2, 6, 4, all over pi times 6 squared. So we are going to pick our calculator. And then we are going to see, let me shift it here. And then we are going to see 3 times 264 all over shift pi times 6 squared. And that is 7.028, which equals 7. So that is the right answer. Remember, you could also substitute 22 on 7 as pi, right? Now, question 11 says that find the value of x for which 2x minus 1 all over x squared plus 2x plus 1 is not defined. In order for this function to be undefined, that is not defined, the denominator must be equal to 0. So you have x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 0. Now, this is a quadratic equation. And so we are going to find two numbers that when we add, we are going to have 2. And then when we multiply, we are going to have 1. And those two numbers are 1 and 1, right? So x squared plus x, that is when we add these terms, we are going to have 2x, right? Then plus 1 equals 0. right? So we are going to factorize. We factorize x out here, you're going to be left with x. Then we factorize x out here, you're going to be left with 1. Then we maintain this, that is x plus 1, right? Okay, remember 1 is here, right? So we are going to have x plus 1 and then x plus 1 equals 0. Now x plus 1 equals 0 as one factor and x equals -1. So when x equals -1, then we put in this equation, we are going to have -1 squared plus 2 times -1 plus 1. That is going to be 1 plus -2 plus 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. That is 2 minus 2, and this equals 0, right? So the right answer is what? B, option D, -1. Question 12. The range of a sample of 10 numbers is 5 and the largest value is 50. What is the least value? Now, range equals the largest value minus the least value. Range from the question is 5. So we have 5 here. Largest value is 50. And then the least value is unknown. And so we represent it by S. So making S the subject, we have S equals 50 minus 5 and S equals 45. So option D is the right answer. The mean of 10 numbers is 16. When another number k is added, the mean becomes 18. Find the value of k. Now remember, mean equals sum of items over number of items. Now, from the first statement, we have mean to be 16, and then the number of items or the number of numbers, that is 10, right? 10 numbers, right? So it is left with a sum of items. So 16 equals sum of items on 10, right? The sum of items is going to go 10 times 16. So 16 times 10, that is equal to 160, right? What this means is that if you have the sum of items, that is 160, and we divide it by 10, it's going to give us 60. Okay. Now, another number k is added. The mean becomes 18. So now, if another number is added, then the number of numbers is now going to be what? 10 plus 1. Remember, k, which is another number, has been added. So you are having number of numbers to be now 11. Now, the sum of numbers is going to be what? 160 plus the new number that has been added. In this case, k. Right? Now, it says that the mean then becomes 18. So you are going to have mean 18 equals sum of items, which is 160 plus k, all over number of numbers, which is 11. So you are going to make k the subject. So 11 times 18 is equal to 160 plus k. That is what is here. Now, k is going to be what? 198. That is when you multiply 11 times 18 minus this 160, and k equals 38. Remember, we are asked to find the value of k, and so option A is the right answer. Now, the probabilities that John and James pass an examination are 3 and 4 and 3 on 5 respectively. Find the probability that both will fail. Now, probability that both will fail equals probability that John will fail and probability that James will fail. And means multiplication. And so we are going to have probability that John will fail times probability that James will fail. Now you have been given the probabilities that they will pass only. So we need probability that they will fail, right? So probability that John will fail is going to be what? 1 minus probability that John passed. That is going to be 1 minus 3 on 4. And that is equal to 1 on 4. Probability that James will fail equals 1 minus probability that James passed. And that equals 1 minus 3 on 5, which is 2 on 5. Now probability that both failed equals 1 on 4 times 2 on 5. And this equals 2 on 20, which equals 1 on 10. So option A is the right answer. Now, the diagonals of a rhombus are 12 centimeters and 16 centimeters. Find the perimeter. So this is a rhombus, and they are saying the diagonals of a rhombus are 12 centimeters and 16 centimeters. So the longest one is 16 and the shortest one is what? 12. So we have the longest side and then the shortest side. The shortest side divides the longest side into 2 equal parts, and the longer side also divides the shortest side into 2 equal parts. So if this is 16, then half of it is going to be 8, and then this is also going to be 8, right? 8 plus 8 is 16. If this is 12, then half of it becomes what? 6. So this is also 6. Now, with rhombus, all the sides here are the same. So you have C, 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 right? That implies we can make use of what? Pythagoras theorem, right? So we are going to have what? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So let's say A is 8 and B is what? 6. If you make C the subject, we are going to have what? C equals what? Root of A squared plus B squared from this equation. Then C equals what? 8 squared plus 6 squared. And C equals root of 100. Remember, C is the hypotenuse. Then C is going to be what? 10. Now, perimeter is just the addition of the values of all these lines, which is the perimeter. We are going to have C plus C plus C plus C. And this is equal to 4 times C. And C is 10. So 4 times 10 equals 40 centimeters. So option D is the right answer. Now, in the diagram, PQR is a circle with center O. Angle OQR equals 42 degrees. Angle OQR 42 degrees. Find angle QPR. Angle QPR. This angle. Now, if this is the center, then this line equals this line, as this line is a radius and the radius are the same, right? That implies that the angle formed here is also equal to what? 42 degrees. And it becomes, as this triangle becomes what? An isosceles triangle. So that is the statement here. So this becomes 42. Now, the sum of interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. So this plus this portion of the angle is equal to 180 degrees. And so that is the statement here. Angle ROQ, the angle here plus 42 plus 42 equals 180 degrees, making angle ROQ the subject. You are going to have 180 minus 84, and angle ROQ equals 96 degrees. So we are having the angle here to be 96. Now, if a chord subtends an angle at the center and also subtends at the circumference of the circle, then 2 times the angle subtended at the circumference is equal to the angle subtended at the center. So half of this angle equals the angle here. So angle QPR, equals half of angle ROQ, this angle. So half of 96 equals 48. So you have 48 here. So the right answer is option B. Now we have to solve x times 3x plus 4 equals 4. Now we have Now we are going to expand, and so x times 3x is 3x squared, x times 4 is 4x. Then we are going to send 4 to this side, and then it's going to be negative 4, and this equals 0, right? Now we are going to pick a calculator and then go to mode, then select 5, which is equation, and then we are going to select option 3. So we are going to write the coefficient of the x squared, and that is 3. Then the coefficient of the x variable, that is 4. And then the constant is negative 4. Then we press the equal to button, and that is going to go 2 on 3 and negative 2, which is option A, right? Or we are going to multiply 3 times the constant, which is negative 12. Then we are going to find two numbers such that when we add, we are going to have 4, positive 4. And when we multiply, we are going to have negative 12. And those two numbers are 6 and negative 2. So we are going to split it as 3 times x squared plus 6x minus 2x, such that if we add 6x and then minus 2x, we are going to have 4x. That is it. And this equals 0. We are going to factorize. We are going to have 3x out. Then we are going to have x here, and then plus 2. Then we are going to have negative 2 out, then x plus 2, right? So we are going to have 3x minus these 2, then x plus 2, and this equals 0. 3x minus 2 equals 0, making x the subject. X equals 3 on 2. Now, x plus 2 equals 0, making x the subject. X also becomes negative 2. So that is option A. Now, if p equals negative 2, 0, 2, 4, and 6, and then q equals negative 3, negative 1, 0, 2, 3, 5, find the set p intersection q. What this means is that we are going to write a set that consists the values that are both found in these two sets. And so when we take negative 2, negative 2 is in P but not in Q. 0 is in P and also in Q. So 0 is part. 2 is in P and also in Q. The rest cannot be found at the both sides. Right? So the right answer is option D. An office equipment depreciates at 15% per annum. If the cost is 1,200 when new, find the value after 3 years. So this is a problem on depreciation. And then A equals P times 1 minus R all to the power n, where P is initial amount or the principal, and then R is the rate of depreciation, and then A is the value at the end of n years. In this case, n equals 3. So that is it. N equals 3. Now the principal is 1,200. And then the rate is 15%. 15% is 15 on 100. That equals 0.15. So we are going to put it in the formula. And so that is A equals 1,200 times 1 minus 0.15 cube. And if you compute using the calculator, you are going to have 736.95. And the right option is option C. Now, solve x minus 2 all on 4 minus 2x minus 4 on 3 equals 5 on 6. So you are going to solve using the trig. That is using the scientific calculator. So let's solve it. Let's go back. So you are going to have a fraction alpha x minus 2 on 4 minus another fraction 2 alpha x minus 4 on 3, and this equals alpha calc. That is it. 5 on 6. Then we are going to see shift sub, right? And then we are going to click on equal to, and it says s equals 0, right? And so the right option is option A. Or we are going to multiply this equation by LCM, that is 12. Compare the denominators, that is 12. 12 times x minus 2 on 4 minus 12 times 2x minus 4 on 3 equals 12 times 5 on 6. That is 4 divides 12 by 3. So 3 times x minus 2. This 12 divides 12 divided by 3 is 4. So 4 times 2x minus 4 equals 2 times 5. That is 6 divides 12 by 2. So if you do it well, you're going to have x equals 0. Now we have this diagram and we have to calculate the value of t in the diagram. These are two parallel lines. You have to find this angle. And to find this angle, you're going to draw another parallel line that passes through this point. So that is it. Now, if you extend this line, you realize that this 35 corresponds to this angle, right? Right? Then we're having 140 degrees here. Now, 140 and this angle are, are on a straight line. And so 140 plus this angle equals 180 degrees. That implies this portion is 40 degrees. So we have 40 here. Now, once we have 40 here, this 40 corresponds to this angle here. And so the sum of these two angles is what is t, right? So t equals 35 plus 40, and this equals 75 degrees. So the right option is option C. Now, 6 times 7 equals y modulo 8. 6 times 7 equals y in modulo 8. Find the value of y. This means multiplication. This means multiplication. So 6 times 7 equals 42. Now, What will be 42 in modulo 8? 42 in modulo 8 equals 2. So 8 divides 42 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. And so 42 minus 40 is 2. That is the remainder. So when 8 divides 42, it has a remainder of 2. Hence, 42 equals 2 in modulo 8. And so if we are to compare with this equation, you realize that this 42 equals 2 in mod 8. So the right option is option A, as y is 2. Now, express 0.063065 correct to 3 significant figures. So we are going back to our scientific calculator. We are going to press on shift, then mode. Then we are going to select option 7, scientific. Then it says to 3 significant figures. We are going to enter 3, right? And then we are going to write this value 0.0063075. Then press on equal to sign. It says 6.31 times 10 to the power negative 3. And so this means that we need to send the decimal point 3 times to the left. You are going to have 1, 2, 3. So 0, 0, 0, 0.00631. That is option C. Now, given the statement P and Q, the statement P or Q is false only if, now, this symbol means or, and when it is turned upside down like this, that is what? And, logical and. This is logical or. Now, with logical or, these two statements becomes false if and only if both of them are false. If one of them is true, it is true. If both of them are true, it is still true. However, with logical and, if one of the two statements is false, then it becomes false. So with or, it becomes false if both of them are false. So the statement C is what? The right option. P is false and Q is false. Then that will imply that what? P or Q is false. Now, the table describes the relation y equals mx plus c, where m and c are constant. Use the information to answer questions 25 and 26. Now, what is the gradient of the equation of the line? Now, we are going to take 2 points from this table. Now, always take from the second point. Don't take the first point. So you are going to take this point and see A, and has coordinates 2, 2, right? And we are going to have point B and has coordinates 4 and 3. Now gradient, which is m, equals y2 minus y1 on x2 minus x1. And so m equals 3 minus 2 all over 4 minus 2, and this equals half. So option A is the right answer. Now you have to find the equation of the line described in the table. Now equation of a line equals y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now y1 is 2, x1 is also 2. That is point A, 2, 2. We are going to have y minus y1, which is 2, equals half, which is m, times x minus x1, which is 2. Now we are going to multiply this equation by 2. We have 2y minus 4. Then this is equal to x minus 2, right? Now, trying to make y the subject, we have 2y equals x plus 2. No need to divide again as the answer is already here. So option B is the right answer. Now the second term of a geometric progression, GP, is 9. If the fourth term is 81, find the common ratio. Now, the nth term of a GP is AN equals ARN minus 1. So, now it is that the second term. So, if n equals 2, then AN is what? 9. Right? So, you are going to see 9 equals AR 2 minus 1. Right? So, you have RA, then R to the power 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1 is still 1. So, we have R. And this equals 9. So, this is equation 1. When n equals 4, then AN equals 81, as it says that the fourth term is 81. Now, if we put 4 to this equation, you're going to have 81, which is the nth term, the fourth term, to be equal to A times R to the power n minus 1. N is now 4, so 4 minus 1 is 3. So you have AR cubed equals 81. So this is equation 2. When we divide equation 2 by equation 1, we are going to have AR cubed, this divided by this, over AR, and then 81 divided by 9. This equals 81 on 9. A will be cancelled out, and then this divides this, and it's going to go R squared equals 81 on 9 is 9. R equals root of 9 and R equals 3. So the right option is option D. That is the common ratio. Now we have this diagram, and it says that triangle PQR, the bigger triangle, is similar to triangle PWY. And it's stated that this line is 15, this line is 6 centimeters, this line is 4 centimeters. Then find line WQ, this line. So we are going to use the ideas in similar triangles to solve this problem. Now, from similar triangle, this will be that line PR, this straight line PR, over PY, the smaller one, is the same as, is equal to, the line PQ over the shortest one, PW. And this is also equal to the line QR, the shortest one, the longest one, over the shortest one, WY, this side, right? Now, we know these two sides, that is this side and this side, right? We know this side, but we don't know this side, and this is what we are asked to find. So we can ignore this and then make use of this equation, right? So we are going to have line PQ. So this is PQ. PQ is 4 plus this line WQ, right? 4 plus WQ. all on PW. PW is 4. And this equals QR. And where is QR? This is QR 15 on WY 6. Sorry, I made a mistake that we had to find PW. It's not PW, rather WQ, this part, right? Yeah, that is it. So that is it. So now we want to make WQ the subject and then solve for it. So you are going to have 6 multiplied by this. So 6 times 4 plus WQ equals 4 times 15, right? So we have 24. That is when 6 multiplies 4. Then plus 6 times WQ, which is 6 WQ equals 4 times 15, which is 60. 6 WQ equals 60 minus 24, which is 36. WQ equals 36 on 6, which equals 6. So the right answer is 6, which is option A. A cylindrical container closed at both ends has a radius of 3 centimeters and height 4 centimeters. What is the total surface area of the container? A cylindrical container closed at both ends has a radius of 3 centimeters and height 4 centimeters. What is the total surface area of the container? Take pi to be 22 on 7. Now, the total surface area of a cylindrical container is equal to 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Now, r is 3, pi is 22 on 7, and then h is 4 centimeters. H equals 4 centimeters. So you want to put these values into this formula. So you have 2 on 2 times 22. So we have 2 times 22 on 7 times 3 squared plus 2 times 22 on 7 times 3 times 4. And when you compute, you are going to have 182 centimeters squared since it is an area. So that is option B. Now, the diameter of a bicycle wheel is 21 centimeters. If the wheel makes 8 complete revolutions, what will be the total distance covered by the wheel? Now, the distance covered is equal to the circumference. Now, the circumference of the wheel, which is circular, is 2 pi r, right? Now, r is diameter over 2, right? So 21 on 2, that is 10.5. Now, the circumference is going to be what? 2 pi r. That is 2 times 22 on 7 times 10.5. And this is equal to 66. Remember, this is for one complete revolution. Now, for 8 times, then that is going to be what? 8 times 66. And that equals 528 centimeters. That is option D. Now, this is the diagram and we have to find the value of x in the diagram. Now, the sum of exterior angles of a polygon sum up to what? 360 degrees. So you're going to add this to this to this to this and then to this. And that must sum up to what? 360 degrees. And so if we do that and then make x the subject, we are going to have x to be 28 degrees. That is option D. Now, this question says that the interior angles of a triangle are y plus 10 degrees, 2y minus 40 degrees, 3y minus 90 degrees. which of the following accurately describes the triangle? Now we know that the sum of interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. So let's try to add these sides together. So if we add all these sides together and make y the subject, we are going to have y to be 50. Now, let's put 50 into these expressions. We are going to have 50 plus 10, and that is 60. We are going to have 50 times 2, that is 100 minus 40, which is 60. We are going to have 3 times 50, which is 150 minus 90, and this equals 60. So you realize that each interior angle of the triangle is what? 60 degrees. So if you have a triangle and each interior angle is 60 degrees, that is what? An equilateral triangle. That means all its sides are the same. Now, given that sine A equals 3 on 5 for values of A such that A is less than or equal to 0 and A is less than or equal to 90 degrees, then we are to find the value of tangent of A minus cosine of A, right? Now we are going to draw a right angle triangle. Now, so making use of the trig identities, we know that sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. Now, theta is now A from the question, right? Now, so if this is theta or A, then 3 becomes our what? Opposite side. Then 5 becomes a hypotenuse, right? That is it. Now we are asked to find tan A minus cos A. Tan is opposite over adjacent, but we don't have adjacent. But then we can make use of what? Pythagoras theorem. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. So hypotenuse, which is 5, when we squared it, this equals A squared plus 3 squared. Then 25 minus 9 equals A squared. That is making A the subject. When we have A squared equals 16, and then A equals root of 16, and this equals 4. So we have this side to be 4. So tangent of A minus cosine of A. Tangent of A equals opposite over adjacent. That is 3 on 4. Cosine is what? Adjacent over hypotenuse, 4 on 5. So 3 on 4 minus 1 on 5. When we make our calculations, we are going to have negative 1 on 20. And that is option E. So we can also solve this problem using the calculator, right? So we know that sine A equals 3 on 5. Then we can find the value of what? Theta, right? Which is A. So A is going to be what? Sine inverse of what? 3 on 5. So we are going to have sine inverse of what? 3 on 5. So that is the value of what? Sine inverse of what? 3 on 5, which is equal to A, right? So we are going to store A as S, right? Which is this value. So shift, store, and then as X. So S is now 36.869. That is the value of A. But we are storing it as X on the calculator, right? Okay. Now, we are to find tan A minus cos A, right? So it's going to be tan of alpha x, right? Since we have stored S as A, right? So S is having the value of A, right? Minus cos of alpha x, and that gives us the same value as when we solved it manually. So that is it. Now we are to simplify 3 log x plus log of y minus 2 log z. Now this can be written as log of what? X to the power cube, right? And this can also be written as what? Log y. We maintain it. And then this can be written as what? Negative log of what? Z to the power 2. Now, addition means multiplication, right? So we have log out, then we have bracket open, x cubed times y, then minus means division all over what? Z squared. And so that is the value, and that is option D. Now we have to simplify this. So if the bases are the same and they are multiplying, then we add the exponent. So that is going to be what? Negative 1 on 4 plus half, and this equals what? 1 on 4. Then we maintain the denominator, a to the power negative half. If the bases are the same and they are dividing, then we are going to subtract the exponent. So that is a to the power 1 on 4 minus negative half, and that becomes negative positive 1 on 4, and that becomes 1 on 4 plus half, and that is a to the power 3 on 4. A to the power 3 on 4. Option A is the correct response. The area of a square parcel of a land is 256 meters squared. A rectangular field of length 20 meters has the same perimeter as a parcel of land. Find area of the field. So what you are saying is that the area of a particular square land is 256 meters squared. There is a rectangular field that has a length 20 meters and is having the same perimeter as that parcel of land, right? So now we need to find the perimeter of what? The square land. Then that perimeter is the same as rectangular field. Then we can find what? The area of that rectangular what? Field through the what? The perimeter, right? So that is what we are going to do. Now, area of the square equals length times length, which is L squared, and that equals what? 256 M squared. If you find root of what? 256, that is 16. So L is what? 16. The length of the square land is what? 16. Now, perimeter of a square is what? Length plus length plus length plus length. That is equal to 4L. So 4 times 16 equals 64 meters. That is the perimeter. So from the question, it says that a rectangular field of length 20 meters has the same perimeter as the parcel of land. So that means that the rectangular field is having a perimeter of 64, right? Now, perimeter of a rectangular field equals 2L plus 2B, where L is the length and B is the breadth. So 64 equals 2 times L, which is 20, and then plus 2 times B. 64 equals 40 plus 2B, making B the subject. 2B equals 24, and B equals 12 meters. So now we know the breadth. Now, area of a rectangular field equals length times breadth. Remember, we have to find the area of the rectangular field. Now we know the breadth and we know the length. So that is what? 20 times 12, and this equals 240 meters squared. That is option D. Mr. Urban invested $1,200 for 3 years at 5% per annum compound interest. Find the interest earned at the end of 3 years. So this is a problem on compound interest. And the formula is that A equals P times 1 plus R on N to the power NT, where A is the amount and then P is the principal. Now, R is the rate of interest, and then N is the number of times the interest is compounded per year. T is the time in years. So from the question, the principal, which is the initial amount, is 1,200, right? The rate is 5%, that is 5 on 100, that is 0.05. And then N, which is the number of times the interest is compounded per year, is 1. So if N equals 1, then the formula becomes A equals P times 1 plus R on 1, and that is 1. Then to the power T times N, and N is 1, so that is T. So if T equals 3, then A equals 1,200 times 1 plus 0.05, that is R to the power 3, right? Then A equals 1389.15 dollars, right? Now, remember A is the amount and at the end of the third year. Now, amount equals principal plus interest. The amount that you're going to earn at the end of the 3 years is equal to the principal, your initial capital, plus the interest in 3 years, right? Now, if you want to make interest the subject, because that is what we are asked to find, then interest is going to be what? Amount minus principal from this equation. Now, amount is 1389.15, and then the capital, initial capital is 1,200. So that is 138.15 minus 1,200, and that is $189.15. And so that is option A. Now in the diagram, PR, this line is tangent to the circle at Q. Q, this is Q. The center of the circle is O, and angle QOS equals 108 degrees. That is this angle. Use the information to answer question 38 and 39. Find angle OSQ. Angle OSQ, right? So if this is the center, then this line QO is a radius, and this line is also a radius, right? Right? So let's say this is X. Then this is also going to be X, because the two lines are the same and the base angles will be the same. And so X plus 108 must sum up to 180 degrees, right? So 2x equals 180 minus 108. 2x equals 72 and x equals 36 degrees. And so this is 36 and this is also 36. Hence, angle OSQ equals 36. And that is option C. Now, we are to find angle SQR. This angle. Right? So, we are going to subtend an imaginary angle at a point on the circumference, let's say T, from this chord. Now, the question says that PR is a tangent. This line is a tangent to the circle, right? Now, angle STQ, this angle is half of this angle, right? So you're going to divide 108 by 2, and that is 54. So we have this side to be 54. Now, angle STQ from the tangent rule is equal to angle SQR. This angle is equal to this angle SQR, right? From the tangent rule. And so this is equal to 54 degrees. So the right option is option C. And find the value of x that satisfies the equation. So the normal way of doing this is to expand, then make x the subject. Then you are going to find the value of what x. But then let's use the calculator. So you're going to have a fraction of 2 on 3 times alpha x plus 5 alpha equals 1 minus a fraction of alpha x minus 7 all on 2. Then we are going to see shift sub. Then we are going to press on equal to button, and then it says s equals 1. So the right option is option A. A closed keyboard has length 12 centimeters, width 7 centimeters, and height 5 centimeters. Calculate the total surface area. The total surface area of a closed keyboard is 2 times length times width plus width times height plus length times height. So you are going to substitute each side into the formula, and then we are going to have 358 centimeters squared. So that is option C. Mr. Amuzu sold his car through an agent who charged 9% commission on the selling price. If Amuzu received 236,600 cedis after the sale, find the selling price of the car. Now, selling price percentage equals 100%. In terms of percentage, the selling price is 100%. Now, percentage received is what? 100% minus commission percent, right? And that is going to be what? 100 minus 9 from the question. The commission is 9%, and that equals 91%. Now, amount received is 236,600. Now, from ratio and proportion, if 91%, which is the amount received in percentage, is equal to 236,600 in terms of amount received in cash, that is not in percentage, then 100% will be what? 100% of course is going to be much bigger than 91%. So if more, let's divide, right? And so we are going to have 100 being divided by 91, the lesser value, times 236,600, and this is equal to 260,000 Ghana cedis. And so the right option is option C. The diagram shows a triangle MNP inscribed in a circle line MQ is tangent to the circle at M. Find angle MPN. Now, angle MNP equals angle QMP. This angle here equals this angle, and so we have 73 here, right? Remember, we are asked to find angle MPN, this angle, right? So the sum of these three angles should be equal to 180 degrees. So this angle plus 73 plus 58 equals 180, and when we make this the subject, we are going to have it to be 49 degrees. So the right option is option A. And in an examination taken by 120 students, 90 passed mathematics, 40 passed science, and 5 failed both subjects. Use the information to answer questions 44 and 45. How many students passed science only? So we draw a Venn diagram. So the total number of students is 120. That is what is here. Now 90 passed mathematics. So let's say number of M equals 90. And then 40 passed science. Number of science is what? 40. Now it says that 5 failed both subjects. That means they did not pass either of maths and then science, right? So they are neither maths nor science. So that is 5. That is what is here. So we've not been given a number of students who pass both. So let's represent it by what? X. Then this portion is going to be 90 minus x, and this is also going to be 40 minus x. Now, when we add everything in here, it should be equal to 120, right? So 90 minus x plus 40 minus x plus 5 should be equal to 120. And when we make s the subject, we are going to have s equals 50. Now, it says how many students pass science only? Science only is this portion, 40 minus x. So 40 minus x equal to 40 minus 15, and that equals 25. So the right option is option C. Now, find the probability that a student selected at random passed only one subject. So it should be the total number of students who passed only one subject all over 120, the total number of students, right? So now only one subject is this portion and then this portion. Right? So we are going to add the two, right? So 90 minus x plus 40 minus x. X is 50. 90 minus 15 plus 40 minus 15. That is 75 plus 25. And this is 100. The total number of students is 120. So 100 on 120. And this equals 5 on 6. In the diagram, PR is the diameter of the circle PQRS with center O. Find the value of angle PQS, this angle. Now, PR is a diameter, and this diameter subtends an angle at the point S, right? That means this angle formed will be what? 90 degrees. Now, this line is equal to this line, right? So the angles formed here will be the same, right? So the sum of the interior angles of triangle PRS should be what? 180 degrees. And this also implies that triangle PSR is an isosceles triangle since two of each sides are the same. So x plus x, 2x plus 90 degrees, this angle should be equal to 180. 2x should be 180 minus 90 is 90, right? S equals 90 on 2 and S equals 45. So each angle here is 45. Now, consider the chord PS. PS subtends an angle at the point R, and in the same segment, PS subtends an angle at the point Q, and we know that these two angles will be the same. And so angle PQS is equal to angle PRS. Hence, the right option is option D. So this is a repeated question. And so that is option D here. Now, find the product of 1, 2, 4 to be 7 and 2, 3 to be 7. Now, this implies 1, 2, 4 times 23 all in base 7. So we need to convert each of them to base 10 first. We have 1, 2, 4 to base 7 being converted to, let's say, x in base 10, right? So that is going to be this value 4 times to the power of 4 times 7 to the power of what? 0. Then 2 times 7 to the power of what? 1. Plus 1 times 7 to the power of what? 2. So this has a power of 0, 1, and then 2. Then when we add it and multiply, we are having, then when we compute this value, we are having 67. That is in base 10. Then we are going to convert 23 base 7 to, let's see, y in base 10, right? So this is going to have 0 and then 1. So we are going to have 2 times 7 to the power 1 plus 3 times 7 to the power 0. That is it. And this equals 17. So 67 times 17 in base 10 equals 1139. That is in base 10. So we are going to convert 1139 to base 7. This is how we are going to do. We are going to write 119 and then a remainder section. So 7 divides this. So 7 divides this by 162 and then a remainder of 5. And then it divides 162 23 times and then a remainder of what? 1. Then divides 23 by 3, a remainder of 2. Divide 7 0 times, then a remainder of 3. Then we are going to write these values in order of this. So we are going to have 3215, 3215 in base 7. Or you can write it this way. So that is the right answer. Now, given that m equals 5, n equals 3, and r equals 2, evaluate m squared minus n squared plus r squared all over m squared plus n squared minus r squared. So wherever we see m, we are going to put the value of 5 there. Wherever we see n, we are going to put the value of 3. And then wherever we see r, we are going to put a value of 2. And so we are going to have 5 squared minus 3 squared plus 2 squared all over 5 squared plus 3 squared minus 2 squared. And this equals 20 on 30. And then that is 2 on 3. Now, the final question is that 3 boys of ages 2, 4, and 10 shared 32 orange in the ratio of their ages. What was the least share? Now, the ratio of their ages, that is 2 is to 4 is to 10. Now we have a common factor, that is 2. So 2 divides 2 by 1, divides 4 by 2, divides 10 by 5. Now the least value is the one with the least ratio, and that is 1. So we are going to have a total ratio of 1 plus 2 plus 5, that is 8. Then the least is going to be what? 1 on total ratio times the total oranges shared, that is 32, and that equals 4. So the right answer is option A. So guys, thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing, and then you can also WhatsApp me on +233 204156 365 on WhatsApp. Don't forget to save my name as Sir Mej.